So if you have home or car insurance, you may want to check your email inbox right now. Insurers have been sending out notices to policyholders that they'll no longer be covered for loss or damage as a result of an electricity grid failure. They've clarified that this is not the same thing as the various stages of power cuts. So how will this then impact you? Insurance expert and CEO of eNCA Underwriting Managers, Christelle Colman, joins me now to take us through this. And Christelle, thank you so much for your time. I think this is information that definitely, the policyholder, the ordinary South African needs to be aware of. So let's first talk about why this decision was taken, because I as well received an email that when it comes to electric appliances that are faulty or not working and perhaps previously insured, I might need to check on my insurance here, especially if that is due to power cuts and load shedding. But I'm sure as insurance, you had to come together and make a decision. What informed it?
Good morning. Yes, well, that's a very long question to a very complex problem. But, I think the most important thing to understand here is we have to separate the issues. On the one side, we have the notices that have gone out, and this is around national grid failure. So this is the most extreme event where the power goes off all around the country. We can't, get any access to electricity. It's almost on the same level as, it's definitely a national disaster. And where we see this exclusion, it's sitting on the same level as war and nuclear. So this is largely driven by the international reinsurance market that have come to us as insurers in South Africa and said, this is an event that is not, seen lightly by the international reinsurance community, and they are not prepared to insure it or reinsure it. So we as insurers have to bring forward that exclusion. Now, I know it sounds absolutely frightening and terrible, but I think the thought of a national grid failure, is much worse than actually the impact on insurance. So I want to just say to the viewers that, yes, this is something that we have to be aware of, but it is for the most extreme circumstances. Now, to get to the next part of your question, which is around cover for claims as a result of load shedding and power surge. So this is damage to your freezer contents, electrical gate motors that are going to swimming pool pumps or freezers, cell phones, everything that seems to be affected by power surges as a result of power coming back on following load shedding. Now, here, it's not a simple answer because not all insurance policies are created equal. So some insurers in the market have always covered this since we started seeing these claims, from around 2010. And some insurance policies have never covered this, and that's the biggest part of the market. So, people have not been able to claim for this before. Now, going forward, because this is becoming so frequent, because the losses are becoming so many and the insurers are picking up too many claims, they are saying either we're going to start charging you more, or we're going to start increasing excesses, or we're going to start saying to you, we won't cover this. And that will be clearly indicated to you. So it's a long answer. I'm sorry about that.
No, you did a good job in just clarifying for us, because I think it's important that, policyholders also understand what they're getting themselves into so that you don't get calls as insurance companies with angry policyholders who fail to understand what these notices mean. So I just want to also ask this, and I hope it makes sense. So we want to understand, is there a direct result of an electricity grid failure? And then what the cover would be? For example, if your car is then stolen during grid failure, right, does there have to be some sort of a direct causal link to this?
It depends on how the insurance policy has been amended to, to cater for national grid failure, which, again, I say this is the, very extreme event. I think the thing that you need to be concerned about, and my best advice to the viewers, if they really want to do some homework on this, is get in contact with your insurer or your broker and make sure that the exclusions that are being brought in would still give you cover for fire damage to your home. Because that's the one thing that worries me is, if we have, this is not for national grid failure, this is for any, exclusions around load shedding, your sort of policy exclusions, where if there's a power surge that leads to your electricity box catching alight while you're out of the house and your home burns down, and we've seen a few claims, over the last few years come in, where a lady is busy drying her hair, power goes off, she puts the hairdryer on the bed, goes out of the house, and then comes back, and the house actually had burned down because the power came back on, and the hairdryer caused the bed to catch alight. So it's really important that you ask your insurance company or broker that, do I still have fire insurance cover for my home if you exclude claims as a result of load shedding and power surge? So that's sort of my top tip. The second tip that I have for you is to make sure that you speak to understand your risks, because we have now moved on. So the landscape has shifted.
Right.
We have moved on. We have to do personal risk management around our property. Install your UPS protection. If you are going to spend a fortune on solar installation on your home, make sure that you've got UPS protection, that you don't end up with a power surge claims. We don't have to have these damages. We can protect our homes and our contents if we can afford it against it.
So let's flip the coin a bit. We've spoken about the impact on the consumer, the impact, obviously, of load shedding, of grid failure, power cuts. I want to focus also on the insurance industry. What's been the impact been on the industry? Obviously, with claims, I can imagine, but you're in a better position to perhaps paint that picture for us, to say, since we've been seeing this recurring stages and power cuts and grid failure and load shedding, being out of electricity for hours on end, surely the insurance industry has felt it at some level.
Oh, Tomato, I just have to thank you for asking, because, we're always in trouble as insurers for, having to exclude cover or increase rates. And this really has been quite traumatic for the industry as a whole. So when load shedding started around about 2008, 2010, I'm old enough to have been around in those days. We didn't include in our premiums and our pricing, we didn't make provision for this kind of event that slowly but surely kind of built up. Now, this happened over a period of time, especially in recent years, where there's, following COVID, increased economic pressures. We can't just keep on increasing insurance premiums because the wallet is just too small. The frequency of claims and the impact on the loss ratio of the insurance companies industry-wide have been significant. And it's something that we have to get used to. But I just want to use another example. With this exclusion coming in, when we had the earthquake in the late 60s, now I do know I'm going back quite a long time, but the Tulbagh earthquake, the insurance market around the country excluded earthquake from cover because they said that this is going to happen again and the impact on the industry is too big and we can't afford to pay these claims. Up until about the 90s, and because the risk subsided, we now have earthquake cover again across all policies. The same goes for political, and social riots. In the late 70s, the insurance market said this risk is too big. It's going to happen. It's going to destroy our industry. And then the SASRIA company was formed by government to take care of these political and social unrest risks. So we are facing, a new risk that is not sudden and unforeseen anymore. And we have to try and think of different ways to cater for it. And there are many questions around how governments should maybe perhaps take some part of the responsibility. But my call to you is take your own responsibility. Make sure that you protect your property and don't just rely on insurance policies to cover out in the event of a claim. Rather, make sure that you don't pick up that claim to start with.
Yeah, I would rather take that advice, definitely taking that advice of, prevention being better than cure, taking that agency and that responsibility so you don't have to, of course, feel that impact a bit later on. Christelle, I wish we had more time for this, but I'll leave it there for now. And thank you so much for giving us some clarity on this conversation. Insurance expert and CEO of eNCA Underwriting Managers, Christelle Colman, thank you so much for your time.